All right, and we're back with another random recap. My name is Ronnie Jr. Okay, first things first, hot. I'm sweaty, but I'm going to get this done. All three episodes, we're going to break them down 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, the way they were rolled out, which I don't know if I agree with on Peacock, the streaming platform versus Bravo. 3 episodes, that's my first question. Do you like 3 episodes at a time? Me personally, 2 would have done suffice. And I also don't think the third itself really took us anywhere that had us oh, we can't wait for next episode. We're going to probably watch regardless. So my first gripe, but it's not like a bad gripe, I just want to kind of give the right kind of criticism, is that I wasn't really the biggest fan of 3 episodes at one time. Needless to say, I did my best to do a little note taking, so I'll do some note taking. Also throw up some of the photos from the episodes themselves. I mean, there's plenty of things to kind of think about and talk about based on what you saw, and we'll recap it all. So that's basically how it's going to go today. It's going to be a lot of fun. As far as myself, I've been recapping and doing YouTube and podcasts or whatever for a long time. So if this is your first time, thank you for checking it out. I will tell you, I will encourage you to go to RandomlyRJr.com to see all of the stuff. There's over 200 plus episodes, and there's another channel, and that's got over 200 episodes as well. But let's just talk about this episode. Let's talk about this Ultimate Girls Trip. How do we stack Ultimate Girls Trip season 2 versus 1? Okay, first thing I'm going to tell you, I think it's not comparable. And the reason is because season 1 with Kenya, Melissa Gorga, Luann had some of my favorite people. And in fact, the only thing that was important as far as what the fan base started to take from that particular franchise, or what would you call it? Not franchise, you would call it installment, season 1 installment, is that a lot of people are on the fence with Kenya Moore, and I'm not. I'm a huge Kenya Moore fan. A lot of people are on the fence with Melissa Gorga, and I'm not. I'm a huge Melissa Gorga fan. So season 1 didn't really give me anything special because these were all the people I liked regardless. Season 2, however, was a little intriguing because not everyone did I enjoy. As far as I know, there was a lot of like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see this one and that one back on the show. I really only felt that about Dorinda and Jill Zarin. That would probably be the 2. And Phaedra is a little complicated in terms of, Phaedra being in the issue many, many years with Candy. And, if you're a Candy fan, as I am, you really want to hold on to that loyalty of like, that really wasn't something that Phaedra needs to necessarily, do and then continue on and get rewarded by coming back on the show. So that's like one thought process. And I totally feel that because I like Candy. But then another thought process is, what about years and years and years of, the fan base missing Phaedra, and it's a show that gives Phaedra a chance to kind of tippy toe into the shallow end of the water back into the Bravo fan base, or in this case, the Peacock network. And I feel okay. I feel okay with it. I mean, part of me, and I know we're all probably going through this because so many people are Candy fans also, and you're just kind of like, how do I become a Candy fan? And represent the great Candy Burris, but knowing that, like, Phaedra did cross the line. But at the same time, we got to look at the world of where we're at right now. There's just so much going on. And, this show, I sometimes wonder about the people who one day are, really popular, and then the next day they're creating this great content and this, albeit almost vulgar content or salacious or, thought-provoking, or not really thought-provoking, but like eye-catching, or, it's got to be, you're basically forcing these cast members to go up the ante every moment. And sometimes they do, and they go out of pocket, like Phaedra. So anyways, my first question to you is, and I'm gonna drink my water here in a second, do you feel like Phaedra is welcome back? I think it's been a long time. I think if she's so fun. I feel like I'm trying to word it the right way, and I'm having trouble. And I think that's a good thing because it's allowing you to say that you like Candy, and you also feel that Phaedra was missed. And at least at this point, and we're going to see her on Real Housewives of Dubai, the Dubai season, at least a cameo or whatever. Right now, it feels welcomed in a way. And I feel like one of the things that Bravo does poorly is they make everything be this versus that. I feel like you could still like Candy. Candy could do 6 of her shows. Let's get an announcement already. Like Candy's, Candy in the game. and then she could do that show and maybe Atlanta part-time or full-time. I'm not taking anything away from Kandi, but I think we could work it out. There's enough franchises and spin-offs that maybe they could all exist, but definitely don't ever forget what had happened, and the reunion moment or whatnot. I just want to know if you felt any way about it, or if you're just like, damn it, bring her back, she's funny, because she is really funny. That's the one thing that we all basically agree on. So one of the things I liked was the warmth and the fun and the great attitude of Dorinda. I feel like sometimes it could be made fun of that she's so into all this, but like, if you're hosting and you want to treat yourself as the host with the most, like, why not? It's really cute to me. I think there was like the element of, I'm flipping through here on the photos. There was the element, I'm trying to find the one. Oh God, this was such a funny episode. There was actually a lot of stuff, but when they were critiquing, here's a flashback. Flashbacks were good too. That's another thing. The concept of Vicky being like, oh, the Berkshires and what is this? And, whatever. I remember one time I went with a group of friends. We went to Glass Lake. It's what it's called. It was like our adjacent, Berkshires. I remember we even did a playlist. My friend Tim got some friends together and we went there. It was about 30 minutes away. It was more on the New York side, not the Massachusetts side, but it was really like kind of that cozy feel. 30 minutes away is obviously a different place, but we couldn't afford Berkshires, of course. But we enjoyed like that cozy and that cold and that cuddly weather and all that kind of stuff. And it's just so weird that like people like Vicky just don't get it at all. And then the question is like, do they not get it or do they not want to get it? That's sort of like a thing that is intriguing about it. One thing I could have done without was Brandi showing up alone, because it looked like they were all at the same hotel. So Brandi shows up alone. You have Phaedra and Eva showing up alone. And then you have the other gals who pretty much were together the whole time, which is Taylor, Vicky, and Tamra. And I just feel like we didn't need that bit of division. I think Dorinda, being the host with the most, she would have been warm and received them all if they would have came at different times or whatever. It kind of felt like it was overly, I wouldn't say overly produced because it wasn't that big of a deal, but you're kind of like, that these people are going to gravitate to these people and these people are going to gravitate to these people and these friends are going to gravitate to these friends. I don't know why we got to make it extra more dramatic. That way we have more time to like watch Brandi walk in separately. Like, I just don't even think it was needed. What was needed though was Dorinda's itinerary. I'm telling you, I don't know if you think like an itinerary is boring or corny. I don't think it's boring. I don't think it's corny at all. I really am all for all things Dorinda. She's probably the most out of all the housewives that I did miss, on the season, and the one I was most excited to see come back. And it is, of course, a little extra, an extra, star-studded situation for her because it is her home. It is where we've seen all these great experiences. Like I said, the flashbacks were definitely necessary. I definitely enjoyed seeing them, and you don't forget about them, but like when you see them back to back to back, you're like, yeah, this house has created some really great television, And does Dorinda put it on? I'm sure she does. She puts it on as sweet as she wants to be, and she also probably puts it on as, I made it nice, and sometimes she's slurring her words. That's an issue we saw in one of her last seasons. Oh, real quick, can I ask you, why was Dorinda ultimately kicked off the season? Like, to me, are we saying that she was that mean to Tinsley? Tinsley was one of the most uneventful, it's a new word I use. I used to call people boring, and somebody was telling me that sounds rude. And I says, but somebody could watch my show and say I'm boring. That's just their perspective. There's no issue. So now I say uneventful because I got to try to make a little more warmth with what I'm doing. And when I'm describing things, I just really describe with such big words. I never look at it as a bad thing. There's ways to be malicious to people, but saying somebody's boring is just saying they're not eventful in this particular show. I've worked a lot of radio shows, and you're either the A mic, the B mic, or the C mic, or so on and so forth. And sometimes you're the fourth one down the line, and you got like a little minute to, put a little stinger in there and keep the radio show afloat. Not everyone has to like that. So to me, I never look at boring as such a big deal, but I will try my very best to kind of like alleviate that from my conversation and say uneventful. So Tinsley was a little uneventful. My thing is, was Dorinda that bad on her that season? It did not seem that way. To me, it didn't seem that way. It really, really didn't. Let's look at a couple other things. So we're starting to get a little bit of the Dorinda being a great house guest, or not house guest, rather. Vicky not being a great house guest, and Dorinda kind of communicating with her. This, I think the thing about right now is usually I do podcasts with other people, so I will try my very best to like not just say, Vicky, what the heck, you're coming in sick, you're coming in straight from a breakup, you're not really in the best spirit, and you're kind of making it, hard for everyone else to enjoy themselves. I'm going to try my very best to think of other sides rather than just what I feel. What I feel is I'm basically Team Dorinda in the situation, but Vicky being so mean in the house and then this, it's really good that Dorinda did go and do some press. And she basically said, it's like, it's not cut to her like cultural intelligence. And it really isn't, like when you're in the car, that's what we heard. And Vicky is saying, I need it to be by big box stores and I need it to be by a Target. Like Vicky, it's not like you come from a place like, and this will be as if I'm shitting on all of Orange County. That's not the point. But you're coming from a place that no one really looks at Orange County. I mean, there's some lavish, beautiful places. We get it, but no one really looks at the richness and the culture of Orange County. Maybe some beautiful beachfront properties, of course, but we can't. You remember when Larsa Pippen on Miami said, "Oh, I'm not going to take opinions not from this group," because Larsa was basically saying, "I'm on my own level and I'm going to listen to Adriana." I mean, it's comical. Same thing here with Vicky, but I really do because I'm by myself here. And I might have guests as we go, but the first 3 episodes I'm doing it solo. And of course the comments are always welcome. You could do the comments and then we could kind of talk, why Vicky would feel the way she feels. But let's break it down. So she has a recent breakup and she has a 30 pills that she's taking, which is a little worrisome. Sounds like she watches a lot of Joe Rogan or something. I don't know. Don't really care. Don't want to talk about it. But I'm trying to think of what would be a defense as to why Vicky was acting out of line. And if I'm a Vicky fan, if I were to be like, no, Dorinda, wasn't really the best, host or whatever, because the complaining was there. And maybe it's this. Maybe, one thing I do think that I am not a huge Orange County fan. I didn't watch all of the seasons, so just walk with me here. But I remember watching that reunion, and I don't really like the cutaway scenes of Andy Cohen going to, try to grab her and him, kind of putting her out there, in the second half or whatever. Like she's got to be backstage, like that lack of respect, not like Andy Cohen isn't so amazingly successful and has navigated a lot of really great career goals and such. But you ride out. My thing is this: if you're keeping Vicky in there, you keep her there from the beginning, and she gets seat 1. Now, sometimes that's different. Again, I hate that. I really do hate, but I love. I hate, but I love that I keep referencing Larsa Pippen on all of these things. If you notice, Larsa Pippen wasn't in the front seat. She was second. She was in the middle. But the whole show was geared towards her. Like literally everyone was geared towards Larsa for the most part. I mean, again, I'm not going to knock the other cast members. There's some really great Miami cast members aside from Adriana. Everyone's great. Adriana, boring. I'm sorry, uneventful. Everyone else, really, really exciting. So what I'm saying is you don't necessarily have to get that front seat. Larsa could have, caused a stink too and said, oh, I'm not, unless I'm sitting next to Andy. Larsa was like, wherever I sit is where the attention's going to go. And I like people like that. Now, Vicky, I don't think is like that, but I will say to the reasonings of why, if I was to defend Vicky's side, because I totally don't really see that naturally, but if I were to defend Vicky's side, maybe it's just, she's just tired of doing these shows and nobody giving her the respect that she needs outside of Eva. And I can kind of see that. For me, I would say it like this. If it was my career, if it was a radio job I did years ago, I would basically say either bring me back in a full capacity or let's part ways. The wishy-washy, funny that word comes up, the wishy-washiness of what Vicky has done every time, these last moments we've seen of her at that reunion and kind of how embarrassing it was for her. I was actually on Team Vicky in that moment, because you're not going to have me, whether the producers or the executives are the greatest, smartest people in the world, and whether you say, well, Vicky, we just plucked you out of casting, it could have been anyone, and that's also true. But you show some respect because lightning in a bottle does not always happen. You know what I mean? So I think you do show Vicky a little respect. And so what I'm thinking is maybe, and I'm wondering who her producer is, because I would say if I was her producer, her segment producer, I would drill into her mind every second of every moment that, like, oh wow, you're coming to the show and no one's making attention for this or attention for that, and just really make her feel a certain way. That way she drudges up her Vicky-isms and complains. It makes great TV. But did I like it? No. Dorinda was the side that made the most sense. I like the way Dorinda's rolling the whole thing out. She's having so much fun, and Vicky really is kind of pissing you off, and not just pissing you off, but making you feel like how does she know? You don't know nothing about the Bluestone Manor and just how fabulous that is. And for one, you said it was in Long Island. I mean, no, we really can't trust Vicky when it comes to anything culturally rich or with any type of texture. That's not what she does. She does something else. Anyways, I spent too much time talking about Vicky. It does seem like the person we're talking about the most is going to be Brandi. But real quick, and I like that actually. But real quick, I want to talk about excuse me. Real quick, I want to talk about the sort of like they were making fun of her, Dorinda, because they were saying she put her book in the care package or the welcoming package. And I'm like, you know what? She also put their faces on cupcakes. Doesn't matter what the person does as long as they go all out and do it. And bottom line, they probably all do gifts that are related to their businesses too, because it's going to help you on the television show and the marketing of your product. I think Tamara had some gift bags. They should all have gift bags, and you would be stupid not to I mean, make it nice. I made it nice comes from Bluestone Manor, and the book is right there. Why would you not give it to them and sign it? And I also thought that was a really great moment because Dorinda took, she's always said that this was her year of pause and she'll be coming back to the show. We'll talk about that in a second because the other gals don't necessarily think that, but she took a time where she was ready to come back and shoot. And imagine, I don't know if you've been in these situations, but I've worked a lot in broadcast, a lot in radio and television type jobs. And I've seen things like be at your fingertips and they slip away real quick. So what do? I think that was really cool. I really like the way she backed it up, reshifted and pivoted, and then all of a sudden had this book. And I thought, why not put that in your gift bag? Natural for some of the gals to complain about it, but it wasn't really something I enjoyed in particular. Let's see. I'm going to look for, in this episode 1, our girl that's getting the most attention and also drunk to some degree is Brandi. But, over the course of these episodes, I want to say that I can't remember who said it, but I think there's a lovable factor about Brandi. There's something that really, I think I'm trying to assess what it is. I think she isn't mean. I think she knows what she's doing and she telegraphs everything. But I think she's the type of person who doesn't really look at these words and feel bad about the words or whatever. And so when she spouts them out, she expects them to all take it the way she would take it. Obviously bitch was an example and that kind of got everyone a little bit upset, but I really don't feel like she's that mean. There was a really good conversation that was had. Actually, I'm going to refer to my notes here in 1 second. There was also I thought it was cute. I thought there was a cute little moment between Dorinda giving the story of like she doesn't really receive and feel Richard anywhere, but she does feel and see him outside at Bluestone Manor. So, Dorinda's great for that. She's great for giving the harsh, big, like mean moments, and then she's also really great for giving the warm and like motherly moments. Dorinda was also really good for giving Phaedra the lobster. It was wonderful for television. I thought that was that's classic Dorinda for you, and Phaedra having fun with it was really, really perfect. So it was good. The episode 1 was good. Let's go over a couple notes that I do have here. Dorinda is on pause. Okay, we talked about that. So they all think she's kind of crazy because she feels like she's coming back. Listen, in this life, you are the way you word your situation. And if she feels like she's on pause and she wants to address it as such, that's fine. Now, if she says she's on pause and 5 seasons went by and she doesn't change that or, speak differently to it, then we have a problem. But if she was told she was on pause, she's going to come back. She loves the show. She's open about that. She's doing the Sirius XM and all that stuff. I say sometimes we're too cool for the room. Sometimes we're too cool for school, right? And I really appreciate people like Dorinda and Tamra who said, I lost the show. And I'm like, I think Vicky said it too. I lost the show and I didn't know what to do. And I like that. I'm really okay with the vulnerability because you got to think these people got their shows. And I'm getting older too. I'm 41 years old. They got their shows at a certain age, and imagine like those years being filled with excitement, and then it all stops. Now you're rich and everything like that, so there's people who have much tougher lives. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, and I actually care for those people more, who are in the struggle. It is tough out here. However, just think about it, like the attention that you've gotten for 6, 8, 12 years by doing this TV show, and then it's real quiet. Nobody's checking in on you. No one's doing your schedule. No one cares what you think anymore. It could do a number to you. And so for me, Dorinda being on pause and the vulnerability, Tamra saying, I really want to come back. I'm just kind of waiting or whatever. I like the vulnerability. I really, really do. Vicky said it too. And, also I think there's another application too. There's another side of things rather where Eva, some things only are meant to last for a little while. Eva had always been a huge name, specifically after the Top Model show, and she really navigated that for a long time. And then Housewives is essentially something that's supposed to kind of catapult you to the next level. And maybe it did or it didn't, but she keeps landing with different things in different TV shows or whatever. Even before Housewives, she was on a VH1 reality show. Then she does Housewives on Bravo. Then she goes and does a scripted series. Like she understands that these are all quick gigs. Nothing's meant to last forever. Therefore, have some fun. So she came into the house loving Vicky. She came into the house with her new teeth, apparently. I can't wait to come up on some good money, not come up, but, as far as like my career accomplishments, because I can't wait to get the new teeth, the Eva teeth. I'm ready for the Eva teeth. I mean, they were a little too big, but they were nice. The Eva teeth were wonderful. I like that she had a mindset of, I'm going to kind of just lay back. I'm kind of the weed smoking gal. But on the flip side, she had this huge responsibility because she did say, I'm still with the Ricky Smiley morning show, So throughout those days, she's going to have to go to bed early and she's going to have to wake up to do the morning show, which I thought was great, and she had I think she had like a Yeti mic, which I would expect kind of higher quality, but maybe they're just kind of like, oh, Eva's on location, so it doesn't have to sound that great. Like a Rode mic would be a little bit better. Of course, we love the Shure mic that I'm using right now. Hello. But anytime I see that appreciation through Eva, I think that's wonderful because, again, she's always going to get a gig. The radio show is probably the strongest one. No, I wouldn't say strongest. Maybe the TV series, the scripted one was really good, but those things end. But if you were on the Ricky Smiley morning show, one of the biggest morning shows out there, that's checks, that come in year after year after year after year. So I definitely liked us seeing a little bit with Eva. Let me flash to my notes real quick because there are several. So Brandi's drinking and she's talking with Taylor. Okay, so let me see. Do I have a photo that corresponds to that? No, that's not the one. Let's find it. Because it makes it really fun to speak. Oh, there's Eva. It makes it fun to speak while you see what we're talking about. This was another fun moment though. So, this is what I do love about Vicky. Vicky's best moments are when she is adored. When she's adored and when Eva, she didn't have to say what she said. I never seen Eva. I don't know who she is at all. Okay, fine. I'm not going to hold it against her. In fact, if Eva's a true Vicky fan, she's going to think that's funny. But I really, and Vicky doesn't have tons of redeeming qualities, but I really love seeing the joy that she gets in being this original Orange County Housewives, meaning if her season, granted she wasn't in the center at the beginning, who would have knew she would last this long or whatever. You have to give credit. You have to give credit for the people who, you know, ushered in this and made it a franchise, you know, because if the season doesn't do well, another city doesn't get picked up and so on and so forth. And I like to see the twinkle that Vicky gets from Eva, because it reminds me of, if Vicky is hard to get along with, maybe in the house, maybe, let's just say maybe, that it still tells me that she's good with the people that like her fan base. You know, because Ramona, they say Ramona, you know, she's so difficult, but I don't know if Ramona's good with her fan base. That's kind of, well, I don't know. I don't want to compare the two, but you see what I'm saying. And so to me, it was just such a warm, cute moment for Eva to be so excited. Like, you know, listen, I've watched this show since the beginning. Nobody's more of an original than Vicky. And it opens you up for like, oh, in the next 8 episodes, is she going to, are they going to have a common bond or whatever? We have Brandi drinking, as I said. I thought it was cute when Brandi huddles up under Dorinda in the room when they're having their little break. You know, Dorinda's like, okay, we'll meet back at 7 or whatever. And that's good and bad, or not good and bad. It's actually all good. I like to see Dorinda be so strict and meticulous on a schedule, but also be like, you know what? It's the midday, you know, take a little nap, everyone, do what you guys have to do, and we'll meet back at this time. And I thought it was nice that Brandi went in and talked to her, and Brandi was like, you know, you're like a motherly figure, but she didn't do it in a bad way. She stated that it makes her happy. And there's just, you know, like I said, Brandi probably in the first couple of episodes has the most eye-catching and like, what is this girl doing, and almost being rude moments, but I really don't think she really is rude. And I think people are kind of like getting that, like, she's not really that rude. She just talks in such a way, and she kind of expects you to kind of do that as well. I remember talking to someone in my family recently, and they were saying a word that I say, or words or verbiage or whatnot, and they were saying that I think it was like, I don't know what it was, but it was like, oh, and it really sounds like you're frustrated and mad in that moment. I was like, I wasn't mad at all. I just use words that are like a little bit more focused. So I think maybe Brandi's kind of just, you know, she says stuff and she's used to her core group of friends that, you know, she could say anything and they not really hold it against her. Let me see. We have, I thought I had a photograph of Taylor and Brandi. I suppose that I don't. Anyways, real quick, I want to talk about that. So this was interesting because Taylor was the one, and I hate it. She was the one that was maybe the least entertaining to me from her original season. You know, Housewives of Beverly Hills did not speak to me like it spoke to a lot of people. Housewives of Beverly Hills to me was all shiny on the outside, but like very like hollow in the inside. And I will tell you, season 1, I liked Camille. Season 1, I liked Adrienne Maloof. I thought Kyle was the stalest thing we have ever seen on all of reality TV. And the fact that she stayed all these seasons means she's just structurally possibly like she's in somehow. And then fine, we have Kim, fine, we have Kathy. And I've returned to watching it, but what I'm saying is Taylor was a tougher watch for me for a couple of reasons, because I didn't really enjoy her initial season, and I really sort of omitted to watching. I don't want to sound like what do you call it? Like I'll just say what it is. I wasn't really comfortable watching the Bravo season after, you know, the things that had happened, and, you know, of course, so supportive of, you know, what she had to go through. I mean, it's appalling. But when it gets to a level of her, you know, her ex and you know what he did, both to her and to himself, I didn't want to watch that. I didn't want to watch that. I didn't want to watch a season. I think I watched like episode 1 and 2. I didn't want to watch a season that opened up with like, you know, this is what's happening, and then, you know, this is where we got. I didn't want. I thought Bravo should have followed suit to a degree. You know, VH1 had a show with Megan of the I Love Rock, Brett Michaels, and there was something that happened tragically, and so they cut the show. not tragically, but definitely in the space of domestic abuse. Something happened with Evelyn Lozada and the show that they filmed. So you've seen other networks film a whole series, spend all the money, production and everything. But sometimes, and I do you feel this too? Sometimes I got to look at Bravo sideways and say, I don't think that season should have. Okay, I just wasn't going to watch it. So if you liked it, that's great. And I went back and watched it years later after all of the stuff had kind of settled, but it wasn't anything I wanted to watch. I felt really like, is this what is entertainment? Like, I need the Housewives to be funny and snarky, and we live behind the gated community, and this is what life is really like. And even if you were going to touch kind of what he had done to her, I'm trying to be nice, not nice. I'm trying to be respectful about the words I use. Okay. I just didn't need to see it at that time. Did anyone have that, or was the fan base more like, this is such a story, I want to see what happened? And I think I also have another weird thing about that, because there's the concept of, well, Camille essentially created that sentence, which, and now we said it, which of course that snowball effect really sort of, I mean, no one could get blamed, but what I feel weird about, just, and maybe I'm missing something, because again, I didn't watch it during the time, right? Season 2. And the reason I'm mentioning this too is because I'm trying to be a great broadcaster and express what would have caused me not to enjoy Taylor initially, but like why she's really working on this Ultimate Girls Trip. And then I'll talk to you what I think about with her and Brandi. But it just wasn't really for me. And I also feel like when you do that, you end up rolling out a season where, the season requires the cast members to really, say this to this one to create tension, and say this to this one and create tension, and say this to this one and create tension. It's like a ping pong. I just really feel weird about, like, if anything, like, I mean, I don't know how does or did Camille feel by creating this now we said it moment, which, created other moments, the butterfly effect. All of it I didn't want to touch. All of it I didn't like. And then when it goes to Twitter, it's like, probably everyone blamed such and such and such and such. It was a dark and ugly situation. I really love, switching gears, I really loved seeing the daughter, like, get through it, I guess. I mean, no one gets through it. Taylor doesn't really get through it. She moves on, but she doesn't get through it. And what I liked about Taylor is, Brandi was saying sorry, but she was also very, like, personal and making it about herself. And I felt like Taylor was doing the best move, which was like, I just don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it a lot. So she was just trying to absorb Brandi a little bit, and then, create this space of, like, where we don't have to visit this again, because obviously that's the thing about it. And I almost wonder sometimes contractually, when these women come into the show, like, is there any way, I guess they can't, but is there any way they can contractually, listen, I've given you this much, I don't want to touch this again. I don't want to touch this over and over and over on the new show. And another thing is Ultimate Girls Trip. We should be able to have light conversations like that, like with Brandi and Taylor. But I think I want new storylines. I don't want old storylines, but nonetheless, it was something that became known that Brandi wasn't gonna like, she was gonna continue. You could say buzzed or drunk, but she was gonna continue to want to get in Taylor's space to either apologize or give her excuses or reasons why. And it was okay, but I was more on Taylor's side. And again, I was never really interested in Taylor. I never really thought of her as one of my favorite housewives. And I thought she came with some really wonderful vulnerability. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's what makes you great on these shows, but she explained herself very well. She doesn't owe anything to anybody, but I really enjoyed her. And I was also enjoyable with Brandi. Brandi, a Scorpio, wants to get everyone naked. So those are the moments where you feel like she's just putting it on a little bit too much. I love the way, it wasn't really said in the show, but in the confessionals, Tamara was like, well, we know we can't, really engage with her too much because of what she did, as far as like, not what she did with Denise, but how she, sort of spoke upon that. Those are supposed to be things that, you do excuse me, you keep those between yourself. So I think a lot of people have a little trepidation with Brandi, but she's just got such a warmness about her. Were you able to watch Brandi and still be really like intrigued by her, or were you just kind of like, oh, she's stirring the pot and getting in everyone's business? Like, how did you feel about Brandi? I still had such a soft spot in my heart, I think, for her. I don't know that I should have, but nonetheless, I did. So that's just what it is. And then I did like the way Tamra talked with Brandi for a little bit, because I guess online it really had gotten to a place. So I was pretty glad that they had decided to. Well, I don't know what they decided, but again, it's Tamra's doing exactly what Taylor was doing. I'm like, I'll be Brandi's friend, but I really gotta watch. I gotta watch her. I just can't open my heart to Brandi because Brandi's liable to do some stuff, I suppose. So they're at the clam bake, and they talked about each other's biggest insecurities. It was funny because they made it like Dorinda was, like she said the word relevant, but I don't think she meant relevant. And then they all like not attacked her, but they made it as if like, oh, see, you just want to be a housewife again. And it's like, if you look at Dorinda's life, like she mentions it all the time, all of the things she had done and all the places she's been in the world, and the stuff, and the experiences, and the, and unfortunately the Richard passing away. She's had such a rich life. I don't think she means not relevant like to a stupid TV show. I think more like finding her purpose now, as a widower, and at this age, growing, I'm not gonna say ageism or whatever, but it's, you don't see a lot of people like Dorinda on television. So I think it was more about her finding her place. But it's funny, the rest of them were trying to make it like, oh, we're all secure, but you're the one not insecure because you want to be back on the show. Well, I think they all want to be back on the show if they're there filming. I mean that, and it's a good paycheck. So it is what it is. So yeah, we mentioned a little bit about Dorinda and her sexy lobster ways with Phaedra. I thought that was fun. The one thing that we have to worry about is Brandi rehashing some of the stuff, because Brandi does decide to rehash it in the vein of, she already mentioned a bunch of stuff that was going on, and Taylor kind of received it, kind of not dismissed it, but like made sure the conversation sort of shifted. And then for whatever reason, Taylor's bringing up that Brandi's bringing up that personal story right in front of everybody, which I'm just like, those are the times where you're like, oh, Brandi, you can't do that. This is also when we learned that Brandi uses the word bitch a lot. And you know what? I do too. Bitch? No, with your friends, and it got Vicky a little mad. I believe this is where we sort of end up the, because yeah, Brandi says, shut the fuck up to Vicky. Right before that though, and this is again, great explanation. She doesn't know it. And she can't get the words out. She doesn't owe it to anybody, but I love the way Taylor said, if you must know, and she wouldn't even mean the book was because based on the situation with her ex, the finances were not available, and this is why she did it. And that really was, I gotta be honest, because some of the stuff I will back Brandi on, but in that reunion and whatever Brandi swore she was going through at the time, I thought it was a little bit of a low blow saying you're writing the book, and there hasn't really been but a second since the actual tragedy. I didn't really love that. That's kind of crossing a line. But again, like what I said, season 2, was it season 2? I would have been totally fine. And I know it's like money's on the table. Like everyone, I'm sure I'm the dummy who's like saying they should have canceled the season. But I just explained to you that like other networks have done that before to a degree. I sometimes not worry, but I wonder, what do you want? Do you want to profit off these really dark, scenarios, these really, unimaginable tragedies, or, and if you do that, then you can't expect, well, we got to make a good reunion too. Come on, whatever producers in Brandi's ear, like, all right, we need something from you, Brandi. Let's go. And then she says something like that, and now it's like we're looking at her like, wow, that's such a crazy thing to say. I just think I have a smidge of sympathy for everything that had to do with that season. If it were me, I would have said we have to cancel this season. We'll revisit it. We'll still visit Taylor, and maybe we'll keep a camera on her the whole time, as things were just beginning to happen. But we air it later. We take a break, and Bravo's taking breaks. I mean, they've taken breaks for Teresa to go to jail. They've taken breaks for Real Housewives of New York to figure out what they're gonna do. Why couldn't you take a break then? Again, I'm not trying to sound whatever, but I've heard a lot of people lately say, dang, it seems like Housewives now, unless you have an Erica Jane case, or unless you have a Jen Shaw case, or unless you have a Teresa Giudice case, sorry, that you aren't compelling. And I think once they cross that line on allowing season 2 to run the way that it ran and probably profited, think about all the ad revenue they got on that season, but it was essentially a really tragic situation. Wasn't for me. So anyways, the goods and the bads. So from those moments, and again, season 1, I didn't like it either, because I was like, Lisa Vanderpump, Kyle Richards, stale, very, very stale. And I couldn't understand why people love Beverly Hills, because I did not. No. I loved Miami when it came out. I love Potomac when it came out. I love New York when it came out. I love Atlanta season 5 when Kenya came in and made it a show. No diss to all the other people at the beginning, but you know what I mean? Like, Kenya was the star. So Beverly Hills just was never a big deal to me. Never. I think literally probably I've only started to rewatch it. I mean, a couple throughout the earlier seasons, but really once Garcelle came into the show, and Denise, and it seemed like a Rinna. I like Lisa Rinna. Anyways, these are just my thoughts on this. This ends the episode. Vicky goes crazy. There's a shut the fuck up comment, and that really ends episode 1, kind of leads to episode 2. So we will wrap it up right now and come back with an episode 2 recap. As a note, we got to do this little show note real quick. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/randomlyRJ, patreon.com/randomlyRJ. There's over 200 episodes on Randomly Ron. Now I'm forgetting my own name, Randomly Ronnie Jr. And there's also over 200 episodes on my other channel too. They're all linked with the hashtag Randomly with Ronnie Jr. So there's like a lot out there already. If you wanted to support the stuff that's on the paywall, which helps out the shows in general, really the shows, all of them, because there's so many, please support the Patreon, because that's very helpful. And if you like the recap, just put a thumbs up. If there's anything that I missed, just go ahead and write it. You have constructive criticism, go ahead and write like what we didn't talk about or what we missed or something that was interesting to you. But outside of that, we'll keep it moving, and we'll be back for the next episode. I'm going to leave you with a short clip of some of the stuff that I've done over the years.